Hello and welcome to another video. It's Simon from Inklips, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do some really simple Copic coloring and using these little tiny monsters from the Big Time stamp set from Create a Smile Stamps. I love this stamp set because it has a couple really awesome little monsters, and it also has some great sentiments you can pair them up with. They also have some awesome accessories you can add to them, but today we're just going to stick with really simple, and I'm going to be using that small little monster with the Hey Little Monster sentiment. I'm using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink for all of my stamping today because it is a Copic friendly ink, and like I had mentioned before, we're going to do some really simple Copic coloring later in today's video so it will not bleed. I have made a couple of horizontal and vertical lines on my card base because I'm going to be lining it up with my acrylic block to make sure that I get these monsters stamped very straight onto my card. You can do it without these lines, but I found these to be very helpful in getting everything straight and lined up, and because it is a super clean and simple card, you're going to want to make sure a lot of things are very precise. So I'm once again just stamping these little monsters down. I had enough room to fit 4 little monsters on my card for today, and there was a little bit of extra room on the side, so I had to chop that off, but it worked out fine, and I just made a little bit of a smaller card. So I'm just going to keep on stamping. I'm sorry if this video was a little bit choppy in this portion because my head kept getting in the way because I tried to line these up really well. So it might be a little choppy here. So once I've got those all stamps down, I'm going to start doing my Copic coloring. I decided to go with kind of a rainbow theme with these monsters in order. There wasn't enough monsters to complete the whole rainbow, but I decided to kind of do a little compromise and do some kind of like blue greens or yellow oranges and like a pinkish kind of reddish color just to kind of fit all of the color tones into there. I'm still a beginner using Copic markers, so my blending techniques in this video were not perfect. I'm still trying to figure out kind of how I want to blend my markers out. In today's video, I went from lightest to the medium shade and then the darkest shade. I found that worked pretty well for me, and then I blended it back out with the lightest shade of marker. They all blended really well, and I think it worked for today's card. So now I'm moving on to my yellow monster. I don't really have all of the color names for you guys today, but if you would like that in the future, I would love if you can comment down below and I will leave the caps on the screen or kind of figure out a way to kind of show you the marker numbers in case if you're following along and would like to color the monsters in the same way. I really love the style of these stamps from Create a Smile. These little monsters are kind of imperfect, and that's what I really love about them, and it adds a little bit more detail to my card and a little bit more interest. And so with them not being completely perfect, it's really kind of fun to color them in and put them on my card because I love the look and the style that they have. So if I get any marker outside of the lines, which I did kind of with all of the colors, there was just a little bit outside of the lines there, I actually had to go in later with a white gel pen, and I just went around the lines and kind of cleaned them up a little bit. It's really hard to see the white pen once it all dries, and you know, it kind of blends in with the white cardstock. So it didn't really matter if I went out of the lines here. I'm still going to look into getting one of those Copic blending markers, but I do not have one yet, so I just used some white pen, and that worked really well for me. So now with this purple monster, this one was a little bit harder to blend, and this one was probably the worst one that I did today. I don't know what I did wrong with it. I don't know if the shades were a little bit too far apart here, but it did not blend perfectly or kind of as smooth as the other one did. So this was the only monster that I kind of had problems with. It didn't really bother me too much though, because later I'm going to be using some white dots to kind of add some extra detail to these monsters, so it kind of took away from that, and not everybody's going to focus on how well all of these blended, but still the purple one didn't blend as great as the others. So here's my finished coloring piece. So now I'm going to be taking the Hey Little Monster sentiment and using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, I'm going to be stamping that sentiment right below the monsters, kind of lining it up in the center. And like I said earlier, you're going to want to make sure you're lining these up really nicely and really well. So I'm using my grid mat here just because this is a super clean and simple card, so you don't want it to be kind of crooked. So this is a technique or kind of a tip that I've learned from Julia Alterman. If any of your Copic marker bleeds through on the inside of your card, some people might not think that's such a big deal, but I don't really like that too much. So I took a little piece of white cardstock here that's a tiny bit smaller than the actual inside of the card, and I'm just adding that directly over top of that Copic coloring that it bled through, just so that it can kind of cover that up, and it makes it look a little bit cleaner, and like the inside, it kind of just blends in and you don't really notice it. So now I'm going to be adding a little bit of white pen detail onto these little guys. I'm adding 3 little dots onto each side, and then I'm going to be adding tiny little dots to fill each one of these in. I thought that this really needed it just because it was such a simple card. I just don't really know where to stop, so I just keep adding some details, and I think that's kind of, what I do. I don't really know when to stop here, so I just keep adding little details, and now I'm just adding some glossy accents to the eyes of all the monsters here, and I'm just adding a thin little coat to each eye. This will just add a little bit more dimension to my card. Because it is a 1-layer card, it's really super flat, and there's not much embellishments that I put on here. So I really feel like adding the glossy accents to the eyes and all the mouths of the monsters really added a special touch to the card. So I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I usually don't do 1-layer cards because they don't really usually work out for me, but I'm super glad that this one did, and I think it turned out really well. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys will give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you would like to see more. All the products that I've used today will be listed and linked down below or over at my blog, so you guys can purchase any of this stuff that I've used today. And if you stop over by inkclips.com, there will be much more info and some still photos for this card. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday for another card making and crafting video. Thanks for stopping by.